The Texans added quite a few new players this offseason through free agency and the draft. Some of these players they're expecting to have a big impact. Others, small one, and others are just there for depth reasons. Now, today, we're going to talk about the 5 players that are new to the team that I see having the biggest impact on the Texans season. Now, like always, I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions. And my first one is Cullen Gillespie. I think Cullen Gillespie is going to be a special teams ace. I think he's going to be out there playing special teams. He's going to be a high energy guy making all sorts of tackles, all sorts of plays on special teams. And I can also see him being put in tough yardage situations, like, a 3rd and 1. And I can see him going out there and creating a hole for Lamar Miller or Deontay Foreman. Probably, you could even hand the ball off to him in the red zone, and he could probably make some things happen because this guy's just a high energy guy, and I feel like he's going to bring some high energy to this team, and he's going to be a fan favorite player. Now, the next guy on my honorable mentions is Max Sharping. Max Sharping, I feel like he's going to start towards the end of the season, probably around mid to late November. I see this guy being the Texans' starting right tackle for years to come. I feel like he's going to be solid. He has some things to clean up in his game, but I think it'll take him some time. But eventually, I think he'll get there this season, and towards the end of the season, he'll help solidify the Texans' O-line. Hopefully, I'm hoping right now is that Seantrell Henderson doesn't get hurt, to really give Max Sharping some time to kind of get his feet wet a little bit, and for him not to get thrown into the fire immediately, and then all the Texans fans would hate him and crucify him for the rest of his life here just because he had a few bad games when he was starting off as a rookie, like Martinez Rankin. But anyways, let's get on to the top 5 players that are new to the team who I think will have the biggest impact. Now, let's start off with number 5. At number 5, I have Lonnie Johnson. You guys know me. If you show up to my live streams, I'm not that big a fan of Lonnie Johnson. I think he has a really, really high ceiling, but I feel like he also needs a lot of work. But I still think he'll have a pretty big impact on the season, especially towards the later half. I feel like early on, he'll make some plays here and there. He'll go in there every now and then. He's not going to be a starter early on, but eventually I think he could probably take over one of the starting corner spots. Or, if God forbid someone gets hurt. And the reason why Lonnie Johnson makes my list is because I trust Jonathan Joseph 100% to help Lonnie Johnson develop into a good corner. Jonathan Joseph, I've said this before, he's a guy that wins with technique and his brain. And if Jonathan Joseph can teach Lonnie Johnson a few things, then I feel like Lonnie Johnson's going to be alright. Now, obviously, Lonnie Johnson, he's like 6'2". He ran a fast 40. Might not ran a fast 40 in his combine, but in his pro day, it's reported that he ran like a 4.39, I believe. So that's pretty fast, especially for a guy of his size. So I feel like he's going to match up pretty well against smaller receivers. And I feel like he's going to have a huge impact in the red zone. For example, on players like and Alshon Jeffrey. I know we don't play Alshon Jeffrey this year, but like bigger players like that would usually snag on the small Texans DBs. Lonnie Johnson's 6'2". They ain't gonna snag on Lonnie. Now, the next guy on my list is another corner, and it's Bradley Roby. I think Roby is an upgrade over Kareem Jackson, any other corner we had last year out there, simply based on his speed. The Texans needed speed on the outside, and Roby has speed. So all these little fast receivers, they ain't gonna burn Roby like that. If Roby can play closer to the line of scrimmage, play press coverage, if they let him do what he's good at, meaning don't line him up 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, he could be decent. And I feel like if he can be decent, that's like about 80% better than anything we had last year, and what we had last year is terrible. Now, obviously, I think they brought in Bradley Roby to solve the T.Y. Hilton problem. I don't think Roby can shut down T.Y. Hilton, but I also think Roby's not going to let him go off for like 200 yards every single time. So, yeah. Number 3 on my list, I got Titus Howard. Now, I know a lot of fans hate Titus Howard, but I think Titus Howard is better than Julian Davenport. Now, the season starts in what? 4 months? I think the biggest issue with Titus Howard is strength. He's got to hit the weight room, man. I don't know if 4 months is enough time for Titus Howard to get his strength up dramatically, because I do think he needs to get a lot stronger. But regardless, I think he is a better tackle than Julian Davenport. Unless Julian Davenport went out this offseason and, like, I don't know, did something crazy like witchcraft and made himself into a competent offensive tackle. But let's be honest, I don't see that. I'm pretty sure you guys don't see that either. So it's probably going to happen. Titus Howard is probably going to be your day one starter at left tackle. I mean, last year, Julian Davenport in total allowed like 16 sacks. So it's kind of hard to get worse than that. So I think Titus Howard will make a bigger impact than Davenport, just simply based on the fact that Titus Howard is a good run blocker. Julian Davenport, coming out of college, was supposed to be a good pass blocker and not so good run blocker, but as you can see, he can't do either, so yeah. Now, my next guy on the list is Kahale Warring. You guys have heard the hype about him all over OTAs, rookie minicamp. I mean, this guy's just an athletic freak. He knows how to play tight end. And from what I heard, I did a little bit more research on him. Apparently, the college he came from, they ran the ball a lot, and their quarterback was really, really bad. So if you look at his stats, they're not going to be so good. I believe it was like, 300 yards and like a few touchdowns. So the stats aren't that good, but it's based on the fact that they used to run the ball a lot, and their quarterback wasn't so good. So this guy has a really high ceiling, and I think he's going to be the number 2 tight end. I think Jordan Thomas and Kahale Warring is going to be 1 and 2. I think they're going to be a great tight end duo, and Kahale Warring is just one of those guys that he's too big to put a DB on him. Linebackers aren't going to be able to keep up with him. He's too fast, too explosive. Like, this guy's just a mismatch. Imagine him and Jordan Thomas. If the Texans' offensive line can take a step forward and the tight ends don't have to be held back to block, the Texans are going to have a dangerous tight end duo, and I'm all for it. And I understand some people were upset about the Kahale Warring pick because, oh no, we picked another tight end. But I don't care. When you have a chance, especially in the middle to late rounds, like a third round, a middle round, when you have a chance to pick a player like Kahale Warring, a player who has a huge potential, a player you know damn well is better than everyone else on the board, you pick him. I don't care what position he plays. It could have been a quarterback, and I wouldn't have minded it, because you know what? Eventually, that quarterback could turn into a first-round pick, like the Patriots do all the time. So, doesn't matter that they picked another tight end. I think this guy's better than Jordan Akins. Jordan Akins hasn't really flashed much. Obviously, Jordan Thomas has. So, I think Jordan Thomas and Kahale Warring are going to be a crazy good tight end duo. It's all depending on the O-line, honestly. If the O-line can hold up, they can go out there and wreak havoc. If they have to sit back and block, that's going to be kind of, just depressing. You have these two crazy big, crazy athletic tight ends, and they have to sit back and block. So, yeah, that's going to be kind of depressing. But anyways, number 1 on my list, this guy I think is going to have a huge impact on the Texans. It's Tashaun Gipson. Tashaun Gibson's a huge upgrade over Tyrann Mathieu. Just huge. This guy can actually cover deep. As long as he's not out there alone on an island, he's going to be fine. If he's back there with Justin Reed playing cover 2, Gibson covers one side of the field, Reed covers the other, he'll be fine. He can do that. But he ain't got the range or speed to cover the whole back end of the field. And I've said this before. Now, where I know Tashawn Gibson will have the biggest impact is stopping tight ends. You guys remember last year, week 1, Rob Gronkowski went off for like 100 yards and a touchdown. That was like the only good game Rob Gronkowski had all season long up until the playoffs. And then he had the Zach Ertz game where Zach Ertz also had like 100 yards. You had the Broncos game where no-name tight ends were dominating us. You had, what else? Eric Ebron tear us up. There was a bunch of games where Texans just couldn't stop the tight ends. And Tashawn Gibson, you guys know this, he specializes in stopping tight ends. For example, take the Chiefs. They lost Kareem Hunt. Tyreek Hill's probably going to be suspended, or he should be suspended. He should be banished from the league. So, their only big weapon they have left is Travis Kelce. If the Texans didn't have Tashawn Gibson, the Chiefs would just be able to throw it to Kelce every single time and, actually compete with us. But, add in Tashawn Gibson. This guy can probably not completely shut him down, like 0 yards and 0 catches, but he can probably limit him to like 3 catches for like 30 yards, just completely tone down what we had last year, because I think it's absurd how many yards, how many plays we allowed to tight ends last year, and adding a guy like Tashawn Gibson that's actually good at something, unlike Tyrann Mathieu, who was, I've said this before, jack of all trades, master of none. He could do everything, but he wasn't good at anything. Tashawn Gibson specializes in stopping tight ends. And I think that's where the biggest impact will happen. Quarterbacks are going to have to look elsewhere now. Maybe they can still expose our corners, but they ain't going to be feasting on us with those tight ends anymore, that's for sure. And yeah, that's the top 5 players who I think will have the biggest impact that are new to the team. Be sure to comment down below if you disagree. Maybe you think someone else will have a bigger impact than the guys I listed. And yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.